All right, what is up, my friends? Welcome. Kaldheim complete set review. Every single freaking card. Every single one. Constructed, limited. Going over all the cards, talking about constructed and standard and historic and modern and stuff, as well as limited. And doing a best in show of every color, too. Best in show. What's it going to be? What's it going to be? We're on green now. We've done white, blue, black, and red. We're going in Wooburg order. Get your Wooburg shirt and coalesce. Promo code Jim10, 10% off your order. And green is next, the best color of Magic. So let's just jump right in with our Arachno Form. 2 mana for an enchantment aura. Enchant creature. Gets +2/+2. Reach. And then every creature type. So pretty cool with Frostbringer. The snow figure destiny. Because it allows you to skip chapter 2 and 3 and to go to chapter 1 and 2 and go to chapter 3. Kind of amusing. But kind of like your standard aura. +2/+2 for 2 mana is like, it's not great. It's okay. Changeling effect is, there honestly aren't a ton of like actual tribal effects in this set. So it's okay. You know, maybe there's some weird thing you can do with this card. But it's amusing. It's amusing. Not super great and limited. Not amazing. Not a card you're going to play constructed. Yeah, just a card. Just a card. Next card is Battle Mammoth. Big swing here from the first card. Battle Mammoth is a 5 mana. Wait. Nope, not best in show. Not best in show. Sorry. A little fake out there. Battle Mammoth is a 5 mana, 6/5 trample. Which is fine. Whenever a permanent you control becomes target of a spell or ability opponent controls, you may draw a card. That part's pretty good. And it's Foretell 4. This card is from like the Exalted Angels school of thought. Or you morph it on 2 and you flip it up on 4, or not flip it up, but you play it on 4. So it's like for 4 mana, a 6/5 with this ability would be very, very good. For 5 mana, it's not as good. This card is directly competing with Greater Gargaroth, which is the de facto best 5-drop in standard and probably historic too, honestly. They're very different cards though. Elder Gargaroth is very, very good if your opponent is not killing it and it gets to live and do all sorts of cool stuff. It's very bad if your opponent kills it. If you go Gargaroth and then they go Conquer's Death, you are way behind. This card does not have the game altering raw power that Elder Gargaroth has in like dominating the board, drawing cards, gaining life and stuff. But if your opponent's playing Conqueror's Death, it's much, much better. It's a straight 2-for-1. So this card is reasonable. It is definitely kind of clunky. And if your opponent just Doomblades it, you get to draw a card, but like it might not matter if they're ahead on the battlefield. So like, it's okay. It's a fine card. I'm not sure exactly what card what deck wants this card. The Foretell here is also awkward because if you're playing a more aggressive deck, you can't afford to like take off turn 2 and then echo onto turn 4. You know, it's not very exciting. So it's a card. We'll see play in standard at some point, maybe. But overall, it's not super exciting. It's just a lot of like raw stats on a pretty clunky card. Having trample helps, but it also unfortunately fails the Lovestruck Beast test, where it cannot beat Lovestruck Beast in combat, which is a huge downside until Lovestruck Beast rotates. So pretty mopey overall. It's fine. It's okay. It's not great, but in limited, obviously you just laugh at your opponent while you beat the crap out of this card. Just dumb and limited. Most mythics are dumb and limited. Just how it is. Next up is Blessing of Frost, and even though cards like this usually aren't good, I think this card's actually really, really good. 4 mana for a snow sorcery. Distribute X +1/+1 counters among any number of creatures you control, where X is the number of snow mana you spent to cast a spell. Then draw a card for each creature you control, power 4 or greater. So, say we have 2 bears in play. We cast this card. Now we have 2 4/4s, we drew 2 cards. This is like 4 power worth of haste that pumps your board in whatever way is perfect to make it be able to overcome blockers. And it can draw a card or 2. Possibly more if the game's like really stalled. So while it requires you to play almost all Snowlands, this card's really, really good. I think there's definitely some sort of like snow aggro deck for sure. I think this card is very, very, very exciting. I know cards like this usually look bad. I think this one's actually really, really good. This card is also just broken and limited. I mean, like, even with 2 Snowlands and limited, this card's just busted. You probably draw 2 cards off of it, make some things big. And yes, very cool with any sort of plus and plus 1 counter effects as well. Conclave Mentor. Yeah, that's a good one. So, pretty sweet. This card's very, very good. Keep an eye out for this and other snow cards. I like this card. I like this card a lot. Blizzard of Brawl, another good snow card. 1 green for a snow sorcery. This is a Prey Upon with upside. So 2-star creature you control, creature you don't control. If you control 3 or more snow permanents, those creatures, the creature you control gets +1/+0 and indestructible, and they fight. Prey Upon is not really standard playable, but it's close. It's not that far off. And this card is just much, much, much better by such a large margin. Having 3 snow things is not that hard. And then if I have a 3/3, or say I have a 4/4, and you have a Love Struck Beast, 1 green, kill it, attack for 5. That's awesome. That's really, really good. Makes it indestructible, so the attack is really good. The problem with the fight effects is, like, say Primal Might. Say you use Primal Might to kill their... Say it's like, I have 4/4, you have 2 4/4s. I use my Primal Might to make it a 5/5 and kill your thing, but I can't attack, because now it has damage on it from combat. So a lot of times when you use the fight effects, you can't attack with the creature because it's already been damaged partially. If it's indestructible, it always wins the fight, and you can attack with it too. So I think this card's really, really good. Also really, really good. So this sort of snow aggro deck is definitely coming together for sure. I think this card's awesome. There's also other snow payoffs too, which we'll get to, but I think this card's really, really good. It's obviously not good against control decks and things like that. So it's not, may not like make a main deck card I'm gonna play a ton of, but does seem really good. Does seem really good. Next up is Boreal. Oh, and then in limited, it's obviously busted. Spray Upon's a good limited card regardless. So Boreal Outrider, 3 mana for a 3/2, Snow Elf Warrior. Cast a creature spell. If you paid a snow of any color of that creature, comes into play with a +1/+1 counter on it. Good solid draft card. Just anything that scales, makes things better is great. A 3/2 for 3 is fine. Just solid draft card. Boy, a lot of words in these cards, a lot of talking. 4 hours talking already. 1 second.
Make a little noise here, huh? Come on, I can't hear you!
Keep it going. Broken Wings. 3 mana for an instant. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. Just your standard cyborg card. These cards are illegal, a lot of things. It's a solid draft cyborg card. Borderline playable, constructed of a cyborg card. It's a flying. It's an owl being skewered. So it's a card. Elder Leaf Mentor, 4 mana for a 3/2. Comes into play, make a 1/1. I guess Barkhide, whatever it was, or what was the elf? There was some elf that did this that was a 3/3. So they powered down that one. So it's only a 3/2. Still very good and limited. It is 2 elves for 4 mana. There aren't a ton of tribal synergies, but elf seems to have some of them. But the 3/2 is much worse than a 3/3. So this just makes it a little more middling. Just an okay card. Not as good as it looks. The 2 toughness is definitely pretty painful. Elves can have beards. That elf does have a beard. That is true. That is a very beardy elf. Elven Bow. As I've said, I think all of the equipments that can make creatures are very, very good and limited. And this one's no exception. 1 green for a equipment gives +1/+2 in reach, equip for 3. And then pay 2 to make it a 1/1. So it's basically a 2/3 elf with reach for 3 mana, which is like okay. But again, the equipment stays around, so if it dies, it's pretty great. So solid card, not as good as some of the other ones, but still pretty good. Solid draft card for sure. Solid draft card for sure. Next up is Elvis Warmaster. Bear, 2 mana for a 2/2, Elf Warrior. 1 or more other elves as battlefield under your control, make an elf creature token. Only once a turn though, so you can't go nuts with this card, which is important because in older formats with Heritage Druid stuff would go crazy. But basically, Young Pyromancer for elves. We've seen this with Knights in white. It's a very good effect. Floods the board. Then you can pay 7 mana, and you can give all your elves +2/+2 and Death Touch. It's not Trample. If it was Trample, it'd be real good. But still a reasonable mana sink. Not going to come up very often, but if you're flooded in the late game, sure, why not? If he gave Trample, it'd be very, very good. A little less exciting without Trample. But if you're playing an Elf deck, I mean, this makes Elves just really simple. You know, it's solid tribal payoff. I'm not sure if there's enough Elves to really make an Elf deck work in Standard, but if there is, this card's good. Historic also has a lot of Elves too. This could be a possible card for Historic as well. Older formats, I don't think it's good enough. If it's triggered on every Elf, not just once a turn, it could be a thing, but it's okay. It's okay. And Limited also is very, very good in Limited, obviously. Very good in Limited, because the Overlord actually matters in Limited for sure. So, next up, this card ain't just green. I'll do with these cards. All right. Asika, the god of the tree. Green, green, and 1 for a 1/4 vigilance, any color of mana. It's not a bad card on rate by itself. I mean, a 3-mana mana elf is not great, but it's fine. Other legends you have vigilance and can add 1 mana of any color. Borderline, not super exciting ability. So front side is very medium. Very, very medium. Not super exciting. It's okay. It's fine. It's good with Kinnan. Sure. It's kind of cool. It's okay. The backside, though. The backside. Let me tell you about that backside. The Prismatic Bridge. Wooburg. White, blue, black, red, green. Legendary enchantment. Beginning of your upkeep. Reveal cards top of your library until you reveal a creature or planeswalker card. Put it into play for free, and the rest on the bottom. This is a very powerful effect. The problem is it's on your upkeep. So you have to, like, get 5 mana, 1 of each color, and cast this card, and get to your next turn safely. So that's tough. It is very powerful, and obviously the God of a Tree can help to cast the Prismatic Bridge. And if this is in play for a few turns, it's really, really good, but feels like more of a casual card. Definitely not super exciting from like a constructed format, but it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Kind of a fun card, you know. In Limited, I mean, if you cast the Prismatic Bridge in Limited, send me a screenshot and I will give you a high five, because that's pretty cool. And then the backside, or the front side, is also okay in Limited. So not super exciting, but fine. Fine. To balance the colors of Magic, we should add a chess rule. White always goes first. Thanks, Lord. Appreciate that. Next card is Asikas Chariot. 4 mana for a vehicle. It's a legendary vehicle. It's a 4 mana 4/4 vehicle with crew 4. So that's a pretty hefty crew number. But comes into play, it makes 2 2/2 cat tokens. Then whenever it attacks, you can make a token that's a copy of a token you control. So this card it looks pretty bad if you look at just the vehicle itself. A 4 mana vehicle, it's a 4/4, it crews for 4. Not very exciting. But this is, in reality, this is 4 mana, make 2 creatures, then go from there. The vehicle is almost secondary. Vehicle's fine. If you get to attack with it, it's pretty cool. Kind of cool with the Yorion. A lot of cards are obviously cool with the Yorion. The Sagas are all insane with the Yorion too. We'll get there, whatever. But I don't know what deck really wants this card. It is pretty cool. But Yorion for sure, maybe. You can't play that many of them as it's legendary. What are you doing with the cat tokens, really? I'm not really sure. Are you going to copy things that aren't the cat tokens? Maybe. I don't really know. It's just like this weird card. It's got pretty good rate. I mean, again, 4 mana for 2 2/2s and a vehicle's fine, but it's just like a weird card. Is it a food card? I don't know. There's a cat companion. So there are actually cat tribal effects in the format from M21, I think. So like it's a thing. There's the anthem for a creature type, which is kind of cool. Obviously, in multiples, it's okay because you can just like play another one and get more cats. It's just kind of a weird, kind of cool card. Probably won't see any play, but the rate is there for sure. In Limited, it's obviously phenomenal, but it's kind of cute, kind of fun. I think it's a cool card. All you cat lovers out there. Finn, the Fangbearer. That's a nice beard. 2 mana for a 1/3 legend. It has Death Touch, and it has poison counters. But why? 1/3 Death Touch. Whenever a creature you control with Death Touch does combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters, 10 or more poison counters, and you lose the game. So I guess by itself, it's a 5-turn clock, which is not bad for a 2-drop, I suppose. There are some Death Touch synergy cards in the format, I suppose. I mean, it's a fine card limited because a 1/3 Death Touch with a little upside is definitely fine and limited, but doesn't work with pump spells, which I think is a good thing, honestly, because I always hated that about Impact, but that's just a card, I guess. I don't know. Glittering Frost, 2 mana for a snow enchantment. Enchanted Land is snow, which is like kind of redundant because it's good at limited because you can give you an extra snow permanent, but like in constructed, it doesn't really matter because you'll be playing all Snowlands anyway. Whenever Enchanted Land is tapped for mana, it makes an additional mana of any one color. So it does make your lands make snow mana too, but I don't see this card in constructed at all. There's no cantrip on it. Doesn't really. It's a 3 mana ramp for only 1. Just seems pretty bad. And then limited, like, if you're dying for snow permanents and snow sources, sure. But not very exciting. At 2 mana, this card would be insanely good. Fertile Ground is obviously a pretty solid card, and we don't see many cards that ramp for 2 in standard. I think Wolf Hollow Haven's in standard right now. It sees some play. At 2 mana, this card's very, very good. At 3, it's one of those cards where, like, it's just not. There isn't really a good cost for it. At 2, it's probably too good. At 3, it's probably not good enough, and there's no way to make it cost 2.5. So, limited, wouldn't be stoked to play this card because you got to have a lot of top end. You can't afford to take off turn 3 that often, but it's a card. It's a card. You know, if you have to fix your deck, it's not very exciting. Next up is not Vold Recluse, a 4/2 Reach Spider. This spider's here to beat freaking down. It's fine. It's a fine draft card. A 4/2 for 3 is like okay. And then Reach is also fine. Might be more of a sideboard card, limited, but it's honestly not that bad. Just to play it as a main deck card. A 4/2 trades up pretty well. Blocks flyers. It's just fine. Blocks angels, sure. Blocks the angel tokens. It's a card. Grizzled Outrider. 5 mana for a 5/5. And I might be a joke. It's not funny. Yeah, it's limited filler. You don't want this card in your deck usually. If you need a 5-drop, sure, but it's not very exciting. It is an elf. It doesn't actually do anything though, so it's not very exciting. Guardian Gladewalker, 2 mana for a 1/1. Comes up with a counter on something. Changeling. This card's kind of like your standard fairy limited card. It's usually a bear, can pump other things, just okay. It's a shapeshifter, has mild value there. It's not very exciting. Probably ain't making it constructed. Horizonseeker, 3 mana for a 3/2. Boast, search for a land and put it in your hand. Kind of a cool card. A little bit of card advantage again. Again, if you attack with this, they block, you trade, you get a land in your deck. It's kind of cool, but not super exciting. Not super exciting. It's kind of like a draft fillery card. Obviously, it goes up in value if you're splashing or you're looking for Snowlands, but it's okay. Ice-Eyed Troll, 3 mana for a 2/3, and you can give it +2/+0 on end of turn, along with Indestructible, and it gets tapped. So they play a kill spell on it, you can't save it. But fine draft card playing snow. Obviously, it'll be reliant on how many Snowlands you get, but as long as you can activate it, it's pretty good. Pretty solid 3-drop. In Search of Greatness. Oh god, this card's so weird. Green enchantment. Beginning of your upkeep, you may cast a permanent spell from your hand with converted mana cost equal to 1 plus the highest converted mana cost among other permanents you control without paying its mana cost. If you don't, scry 1. Okay, so it's like Fires of Invention, but bad. Does not count itself. So you need to have other permanents in play too. And then you can sort of play other stuff too. Devotion is still a thing in standard. This card's just so weird. It seems so hard to use properly. You're only casting permanents with it. So like part of what was good with Fires was you would go like Fire's Wrath in the same turn. Or you'd have a Fires in play and go like Wrath Planeswalker or some sort of like other stuff. I guess you could still do that with this because you cast the Wrath and play the Planeswalker. But it costs green, which is kind of tough. You can cast Omens off of it. This card don't read so good. So many words. This card just seems weird to me. I think this card's not very good. It can double your mana in essence, but I just don't think it's that good. You know, Fires goes good because you play it with like blue cards and cards that draw cards. I don't know. High ceiling, really low floor. Like, really low floor. Really low floor. It is cute with ley lines. That is true. That is pretty cool. So you ley line, play this on turn 2, and play a 5-drop on turn 3. Sure, that's cute, but I don't think it's ever be consistent enough to be useful. You can't rely on having this card on turn 2 every game. You know, that was the thing with fires. Like, your deck needs to be good without fires, and then really good with fires. I'm not sure how you make this card, like, good without. How you make the cards you would play with this card good when you don't have this card. So, not bad. Not really great. Next up is Jorn, God of Winter. We have another weird colored card here. 2 mana for a 3/3, obviously, because everything's a 3/3. Legendary snow creature, it's a god. Whenever it attacks, you untap all the snow permanents you control. That's kind of a big deal. So you untap all your lands. It's a pretty big deal. So you can, like, on turn 4, you can play a 4-drop, attack with it, untap your lands, play a 4-drop, which is pretty sick. So, pretty powerful effect on a, an average body. Untaps itself also. Sure, that's a thing. So that's kind of cool. Don't know what deck really wants that, because an aggressive deck, this seems kind of mediocre. And then in a more mid-rangey deck, like, don't really want like a random 3/3 in my deck. So that part's kind of okay. And then you flip it, and whoa, things are going crazy. We have a Dimir artifact on the back of our green card. 3 mana Dimir, legendary snow artifact. You can tap it to play a snow permanent from your graveyard this turn. If you do, it comes in tapped. Pretty powerful engine, obviously. You can play lands out of your graveyard. You can keep playing your snow spells. Again, though, what deck really wants this card? Now are we like a Sultai deck? And then our lands aren't going to work because we're playing 3 colors. Like, most snow decks are going to be monocolored or like maybe a light splash, maybe 2 colors. So like, I don't even know. Infinite combo with aggravated assault. That is true. So, it's just weird. It's just weird. I could see either of these cards seeing play without the other ever being cast. This in a Dimir deck, like a Dimir Snow deck, like and this in a mono green deck or something like that. But just a freaking weird card. There's definitely a lot of power on both sides. This is a great engine. This is a good mana engine. They obviously play pretty well together. But like, again, I don't know how you're making that mana base work. So I don't know. Just a really, really weird card. Just so many words. Jasper Sentinel. This card's simple. 1 green for a 1/2 reach. It's an elf rogue. Tap and untap creature you control, make a mana of any color. We've seen this card a few times before. It is an elf now, just get a little better. These cards are like mildly playable, but not very exciting. There aren't a ton of great 1-drops, so if there's an elf deck, this card could see play in Constructed. Not a great limited card, because it just doesn't really do enough. So the kind of card where if the sum of their parts for elves works, this card will work in Constructed, but it's pretty weak. It's got to be doing something pretty good. It's kind of like Skirk Prospector-esque, where like by itself it's pretty bad, but if it can do good things, but the ceiling probably isn't nearly as high as Prospector. So this can tap your dwarves for the Lord. I mean, elves and dwarves do not hang out together. All right, you take it easy. Elves hate dwarves. Kaldheim, God of Kinship. This card's really cool. I Am Legend. Historic, anyone? Green 2 for a 2/4 legendary creature. It's a god. As long as you control 3 or more legendary creatures, including this, so 2 other legendary creatures, it is a 6/6 vigilance, which is pretty big. 6/6 vigilance is no joke. 2 mana, tap it. Look at the top 6 cards of your... Hold on. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. My reading glasses on here. You may reveal a legendary creature card among them, put it in your hand, rest on the bottom. So, pretty good. If it has vigilance and you're drawing a card every turn, that's pretty good. You gotta play a lot of legends in your deck, so it's definitely like a pretty big barrier to entry, but the payoff is there. If the payoff is there, it's a 6/6 vigilance that draws a card every turn, which is very, very good. Very, very good. Now, there's also a backside. We all love a good backside. The Ringheart Crest, 2 mana for a legendary artifact. Comes into play, choose a creature type. You can add a green and spend this mana only to cast a creature of a chosen type or a legendary creature spell. So this is a mana rock, not a soul ring, a signet for certain typed creatures or legendary creatures. Now, it's important to note it says legendary creature spell, not legendary spell. So, cannot cast Heart of Kirin, cannot cast Planeswalkers, can't cast Urza's Rudest Blast. So, that's a thing. You know, it's a very limited mana rock. We saw a mana rock like this in Ixalan, where it was 2 mana rock, choose a creature type. You can play any color for creatures of that type. Never saw any play. So, backside is, it's okay. It is kind of cool. You can like turn 2 this and turn 3 the God of Kinship. But then you're unlikely to have enough legends to play to make this thing work. So, definitely an interesting card. It does do a lot of things. The question is, do those things like actually matter? Not sure. I'm sure I'll try it in I Am Legend in Historic. But seems more fun than really useful. It's okay. It's a cool card. I do like it. Up next is King Harald's Revenge. 3 mana for a sorcery. End of turn, target creature you control gets +1/+1 for each creature you control and gains trample, and it must be blocked. This is your limited Borstal Breaker. Jeez. So if you have 5 creatures, you get a 5/5 +5/+5 and trample, and must be blocked. This is the kind of card that like you don't really want a ton of this in limited because if you're behind, it does literally nothing. But it's sort of like a weird removal spell where if you just have a 3/3 and they have a 3/3, you can just play this, make them block it and kill it. So kind of a cool card. It's like a weird fight effect or a weird finisher that also has the risk of doing nothing. It is very, very good on Death Toucher. That is very, very true. The more Death Toucher creatures you have, the better this gets. If I had 5 Death Touchers, I might want like 2 or 3 of this card. But it's kind of weird. Definitely a weird effect. We've seen lure effects before. We've seen, +1/+1 for each creature you control effects before. Seeing this all together is kind of interesting. I'm not really sure. I like to see this card in play in limited. It does seem like it'll be a player in limited for sure. Obviously not constructed, but kind of a cool card. It's not a lure in the sense that you make them block, like you can alpha, like Taunting Elf, Alpha Strike, but it's still pretty good. I guess that makes it closer to a fight effect, but kind of cool, kind of a cool card. Up next is Lajar, Glade Warden, 4 mana for a 3/3 Changeling. Pay 3, exile creature card from your graveyard, put 2++ counters on target creature. Invisibility only having you play a sorcery. This is a very solid draft card. Lord Tupperware with the big raid. Damn. Appreciate that. Thanks so much. Welcome for tuning in my set review. We're a little over halfway done. We've done all the colors so far. We're finishing up green. So I have lands, multicolor cards, and artifacts to do. Shout out to Lord Tupperware, of course, in chat. I know they were doing their set review as well. Limited specialist to Lord Tupperware. Check him out for sure. Oh boy. Okay, so anyway, back to the Glade Warden. Very good draft card. As I talk about in limited a lot, you want cards in limited that scale. That as the game goes on, if things bog down a bit, they can make things keep going for you. And this card does that. So this card can turn dead creatures into making your creatures better, which is great. The body's okay. It's a shapeshifter, which is okay. Thanks, Tupperware. I appreciate that. So very solid draft card here. Not a card you're like dying to play if you have other good late game elements in your deck already, but I imagine this card's gonna be pretty good most of the time. So I like it. Next card is Mammoth Growth. 3 mana for an instant, +4/+4, no trample, which is kind of sad. This is your green 1 mana foretell trick. Every color is one mana common trick at foretell to throw things off for foretell. It's kind of annoying, but at 3 mana, I'm not big on tricks that cost 3. I'm really big on tricks that cost 1. And obviously this can cost 1, but there is a down payment as well. So don't love this card. This feels like your standard pump spell. I just don't want to play in my decks. You can play it if you have to, but you're not really pumped about it. No one? Pumped about it? It's a pump spell. God, unbelievable. So not really like super excited about it, but it's fine. This feels pretty on par with most of them. We'll see how good foretell is. And thus the long haul became a flat haul. Mammoth Growth. Mammoths are already big. So, yeah, definitely it's a fine card. What's up, Donnie? Thanks for following. Yeah, thanks for following, everyone. I really appreciate it. If you haven't followed, that follow button. Of course, watching on YouTube, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Oh, boy. Masked Vandal. This card is quietly one of the best cards in the set. It's a 1/3 for 2. It's a Changeling. And it enters the battlefield. You may exile a creature from your graveyard. If you do, exile an artifact or enchantment. I got news for you. This card's a goblin. It's a goblin. It's an elf. It's a giant. It's a merfolk. It's literally everything. And there are tons. It's a human. There are tons and tons and tons of tribal decks across all the formats that would love to have a 2-mana disenchant. It's also a coward. Yes, that is true. So this card easily could see play in any of them. It's a 2-mana tribal card. You can matron for it. You can just have it in your merfolk deck. Like, that's just good. Yes, it is a merfolk. So this card is going to see play in a lot of formats. A lot of formats. Going as far back as Legacy. Legacy, Pauper, Modern. It's an assembly worker. It's a buzzard. It's just a really good card. It's not going to affect Standard that much because the fact that there aren't enough tribal things in Standard to be super exciting, but it's going to be very exciting in older formats. Real good card. In Limited, it's okay. I don't think there's enough tribal synergy in the format to make Changeling like super desirable. Like in Lorwyn, all the Changelings were freaking awesome. They were just so good because there were so many tribal effects. It just turned everything on. This set isn't really like that. So the Changeling, the type, is not like the most important thing in the world, but this card is just really good. Just a really solid card. It goes in the toolbox of every single tribal deck. Keep an eye on it. Get this card in foil, put it in a binder somewhere. You'll definitely use it multiple times in the next few years for sure. It does exile Heliod and Annex too. It has a goal in Standard. It does kill Doom Foretold and so on and so forth. It's not like naked in Standard, but it is quite good. It is quite good. Oh, what's that sound? Best in show, almost an obvious one. This card is just so freaking good. Old Growth Troll. Green for a 4/4 trample. That's just really good by itself. Like, that's just a very solid card. Obviously, it's hard to cast, but that's just really good. I mean, honestly, Devotion is still a thing. There aren't many Devotion payouts for green, but that's just a big house of a card. If it did nothing else, elf. I think elf. God, somebody shoot me. If it did nothing else, it would be solid at 4/4 trample for green. It is true it matches the bet against Lovestruck Beast, sure. But that's a beater. Better than Yorvo for sure, yeah. The ability, though, whenever Old Growth Troll dies, if it was a creature, return to the battlefield. It's an aura enchantment with Enchant Forest you control. And Enchanted Forest taps for 2 green. It's down Ancient Tomb. And you can pay 1 and sack the land and make another 4/4 green trample. So that's just really good. So your 4/4 trample, they Doom Bladed or whatever. It goes on your land, and when you're mana flooded later, it's another 4/4 trample. And in the meantime, it's an Ancient Tomb. So this card's really good. The weird thing is that it's not a snow card. I think there's going to be a mono green or mostly green beatdown deck that focuses on snow. And this card would go really well in that, but is like, it's not snow, so it's kind of weird. There's a little tension there for sure. And it does run into Lovestruck Beast. So it is definitely a problem for sure. But there are good fight cards, things like that. The rate of this card is just out of this world. And can you flicker it with Yorion? Yeah, sure. This is not better than Steel Leaf Champion. Steel Leaf Champion's a freaking house. But this is very good. Mono green food's already a deck, absolutely. The Ancient Tomb effect can sort of like stand in for Castle Garenbrig as far as like ramming to your 6 drops. It's pretty cool. So this card is really good. Just really good. That's all I gotta say. It's a really good card. In Limited, obviously this card's really hard to cast in Limited, but if you're mostly green, it's gonna be phenomenal. The rate here is just off the charts. It's just a 4/4 for 3 with trample, and when it dies, you get another 4/4 at some point later on. So really good. Better than Euro. Better than Yarok? Yorvo. This card's better than Euro for sure. Yarvo for sure. And they go together. Like, you could just play this and Yarvo in like a mono green beatdown deck. So definitely really, really good. Better than Euro. Slow down. Actually, it is better than Euro because Euro is currently banned. So yeah, super, super cool card. Super, super cool card. I like it. I like it. Best in show. Thank you, Thor. Appreciate it. See you later, Thor. I'll see you for our next best in show. Next card is Path to the World Tree. 2-mana enchantment. When Path to the World Tree enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic land, put it in your hand, and then shuffle your libraries. 2-mana Lay of a Land. Important is you can get Snowlands, which is kind of cool. Then you can pay Wooburg +2 and sacrifice it, and you get a bunch of crazy stuff. You get to gain 2, draw 2, opponent loses 2, shock something, and make a bear. It's a pretty fun card. I don't know if in standard that 7 mana is worth that, realistically, because we can do better. Ugin cost 8, not really worth it. But really fun card, really cool and limited. I don't know if like 5 colors like doable and limited, but obviously this can help. Just kind of a fun card. It's a fun, cute card. Obviously, if you can play it in limited, the effect is very, very good. You definitely want to. But it's just cute. It does blink well. Sure, you can blink it with like, Yorion. Not putting the land in play obviously makes it not nearly as good, but it's a cool card. It's just a fun, cute card. Probably won't see much play, but it's cool. I like it. It's fun. Up next is Ravenous Lindworm. 6 mana for a 6/6. Comes into play, gain 4 life. This is Honey Mammoth, right? Super, super cool curve topper for limited. You don't want a ton of them, but you're all about wanting this to top your curve if you're playing a more control-y deck. Super great stabilizer. It's huge. Gaining 4 life is huge. I loved Honey Mammoth. I like this card a lot too. Just super, super great. Now it's a worm. I don't know what Honey Mammoth did wrong to not be in the set, but it's pouring out for Honey Mammoth, huh? So sad. So sad. All right, so yeah, good draft card. It's not really playable constructed, but yeah, the set has Mammoth in it too, right? So whatever. So up next is Realmwalker. 3 mana for a 2/3 shapeshifter changeling. Comes into play, you choose a creature type. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may cast creature cards on the top of your library like Frenzy style. So this is basically conspicuous snoop for any tribe in green. It's definitely good. 3 is a lot more than 2. The fact that they can go into any deck is really, really cool as far as tribal stuff. It is fun seeing his effects like, oh, my elk deck is better now because I have Realmwalker. That's just like fun. I think that's a good thing for Magic. But I don't know how many tribal effects there even are, in standard right now that make this work, but it's a reasonable payoff. Snoop is definitely a good card. It doesn't die to stomp, which is important in standard. And then obviously the frenzy effect is just very good. If a game goes long, you can just keep playing stuff. It's really awesome too. So obviously much worse than Snoop overall. 3 is a lot more than 2, and so on and so forth. But it's a cool card. I could see this in other formats for sure. I do also think that but what's that? I didn't do it. I can see Panther do something so much. In other formats, this could be a card for sure. You can company into it, which is kind of cool. It's just a cool card, honestly. Just a cool card. Kahira, Companion, sure. Like, the big thing is that I think that shapeshifters do in this set is Immersion Gone. Immersion Gone is power up party. There are a lot of cool party cards in Battle for Zendikar that just weren't really good enough. There weren't enough ways to enable them. And a card like this does that, which is really, really cool. So, definitely has potential. I think Changelings in general have potential, but it's kind of a cool card. It's a Phyrexian Coward Squirrel. It is. And then limited, this card seems great. If you have 6 elves in your deck, and you ever cast 1 elf off this, you're way ahead. So, pretty cool. Zendikar Rising, whatever. Return to Zendikar. Rootless U is next. 5 mana for a 5/4. When it dies, search your library for a creature card with power or toughness 6 or greater, and reveal it, put it in your hand. Real good limited card. This card is a house in limited. If you trade off your 5-drop for their 5-drop and go get your 6-drop, that is insane. You got to actually have things to get with this card, but This card is a real good draft card for sure. Very, very solid limited card. Roots of Wisdom, 2 mana for a sorcery, mill 3, then return a land or an elf from your graveyard to your hand. If you can't, draw a card. Kind of cool that this has the fail state fixed. So cards like Satyr Wayfinder or Mulch, you have the terrible feeling where you mill 3 cards, don't hit a land, and you're like, oh crap. So the fact that this has a fail state of where you just draw a card is definitely cool. Don't really know why an elf deck wants to have a graveyard full. It does feel like some of the themes in this set don't feel like they're fully fleshed out. Like there's some Changeling stuff, but like not a ton of tribal stuff. There's some graveyard stuff, but like not a ton of stuff. Like it does feel like the way they've been designing their sets lately has been. It's a tribal set and a mutate set and a this set, not just like this is the tribal set, this is the graveyard set, and that is kind of cool, but also can leave things feeling unfinished in some way. So this card's just a little weird. Just a little weird. Don't love this card in my draft deck. Also, I'm really doing some graveyard stuff, and then in constructed 2 mana cantrips aren't very good. So just I do think that the fail state benefit is good though. The fact that you can't really miss is kind of nice. Oh, it does make the card a little less powerful though, because they got to tone it down a bit. Like without the fail state, this could easily be look at your top 4 cards or mill 4 cards instead. But Solar Reset, thanks so much. Up next is Rune of Might. This is the best rune by a lot. 2 mana for a cantrip aura. +1/+1 and trample. So you've already said that all the runes are playable and limited because just paying 2 mana to cantrip and get a small effect is fine. But +1/+1 and trample is like actually pretty real. And we're already drawing a card of it, which is great. This can trigger other like, multiple spells in a turn things. Just a fine card. It's similar to like Cartouche of Knowledge. Not as good, but like same thing. I don't see when you'd ever put any of these runes onto an equipment, because that's just like building the biggest house of cards I've ever seen. It's like, I'm going to make my equipment really, really good. So when I finally draw a creature and equip it, it'll be really, really good. Like the payoff is just so lame. So don't think that's ever happening realistically, but as a enchant creature, it's definitely reasonable. Solid card. And then Death Touch, yes, is definitely a thing too. If someone puts this on an Embercleave, puts the Rune of Might, the Rune of Death Touch on an Embercleave, I'll give you a high five. So very good limited, not really playable constructed, probably. I mean, this could be played in an Auras deck. Drawing a card and giving evasion is a big deal. So this is similar to Cartouche of Knowledge in that respect. So like backdoor could see play in some weird Aura deck. For the most part, this is just a good draft, good draft card. Siroffs Packmate, 3 mana for a 3/3. Comes into play, draw a card, Foretell 2. Top tier draft card. A 3/3 for it draws a card for 4 is already great. And the fact that you can split it up is also great. Just super, super solid draft card, like your bread and butter draft card. This is being taken just under top removal spells, I think. The flexibility of casting it for 4 or breaking it up is awesome. Drawing cards is awesome. Just a really, really solid draft card. Sculptor of Winter, 2 mana for a 2/2, untap target Snowland. This card is definitely good and limited. We've seen this card for the most part in Modern Horizons. There's like a similar card. But in Standard, this is an elf and a rogue and a mana creature. This is just a 2/2 for 2 that makes mana, which is kind of cool. And it's a snow creature. A lot of like things happening here. It's a snow creature, it's an elf, it's a rogue, it makes mana. It's 2/2, super reasonable. Very, very unreasonable ears. But very solid card that you could see play constructed if you're looking for this kind of effect. Good and limited. Just a solid card. Solid card. Snakeskin Veil, 1 green for an instant, put a counter on target creature you control. Gain texture on the turn. This card is good. This card is Shades of Blossoming Defense. We lose +1 overall, but it's a permanent counter. This card's good. This card is quite good. Obviously, the counters can matter if you're playing things like Conclave Mentor or Hardened Scales. That's really, really cool. Blossoming Defense was a really good card. When that card was in Standard, it was a major, major player. Very demoralizing when you play your kill spell and got Blossoming Defense. And also, in Standard right now, some of the best removal spells are Bonecrusher Giant and Murderous Rider. And getting to fizzle that as well as save your creature is a backbreaking exchange. So this card's real. This card could definitely see play constructed. It is a good way to counter Bone Crusher Giant, which is one of the most important cards in the format. The counter stuff matters. Hexproof matters. It's an instant. Very, very solid. Yeah, it's probably better than Blossoming Defense in a lot of scenarios, unless you're looking for that big, big pump. But this card's good. I think it's very, very nice. Good draft trick. Y'all know I love bad 1-mana tricks in Limited, because anything that costs 1 is a great trick. It's hard to play around. This is a good 1-mana trick. So very, very solid card. I like this card a lot. I'm very surprised this is a common, honestly. This feels very uncommon to me on power level compared to Blossoming Defense. So very good card. Up next is Spirit of the Alder Guard. 4 mana for a 0/4. Comes into play, search the library for a Snowland, put it in your hand. +1/+0 for each of the snow permanent you control. Just a really good draft card. This is similar to this is a card like this in Modern Horizons, I feel like. But this is going to be pretty big. Just a good, solid draft creature. Obviously, getting a Snowland is great for your synergy stuff. So it's a payoff. It also helps to set you up, which is great too. Just good. Just good. Struggle for Skemfar. Who even wants a Skemfar anyway? 4 mana sorcery. Put a counter on a creature you control. Then fights. This is just Hunt the Weak, but it can foretell for 1. I mean, obviously foretelling this is pretty nice because you can break it up and make it only cost 3. This kind of effect is usually playable in Limited anyway. It's not great. It's very, very clunky. And there are better fight cards, but it's playable. It's a decent fight effect. The counter's kind of nice. Just a draft common, middling removal spell. Toski, Bearer of Secrets. Look, Igor. It's a friend for you. Igor don't care. Oh, no. You're seeing everything. Oh, my God. Immersion. Broken. Exposed. No, the curtain's been pulled back. I'm not actually the Great Wizard of Oz. I am but an idiot with a hamster. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain or the cards in that folder. It wasn't me. I didn't do it. No. Oh, God. Anyway, Toski, Bearer of Secrets. 4 mana for a 1/1. Legendary Squirrel. Can't be countered. Indestructible. Attacks each turn if able. And whenever a creature you control does combat damage to a player, draw a card. This card is cute. It's not very good. It can be bounced, exiled. It's sort of like a weird Bident of Thassa. But Bident of Thassa isn't even that good. It's green, and typically, Bident was obviously blue, so you can play it with evasive creatures. So, not gonna have many evasive creatures. It is pretty amusing against control decks, where, you can just play it and then keep attacking and they can't kill it, which is kind of funny, but they have Ulster Conqueror's Death, things like that, too. So, it's a cute card. It's a funny card. It's definitely good in Limited. Just having it it has to attack every turn. It's not great in Limited. It's just whatever. It's just a funny, cute card. There's nothing else to say. It's not a very good card. Tyvar Kel, our new Planeswalker, green 2. Elf Planeswalker, 3 loyalty. Elves you control have tap for black. +1, put a +1 counter on an elf. An elf, untap it, and it gains death at your end of turn. So, middling +1. You can 0 to make a 1/1. That's not very exciting. And then -6, get an emblem. Whenever you play an elf spell, it gains haste and end of turn. You draw 2 cards. Pretty sick emblem, but not really powerful. They've really toned back on Planeswalkers since War of a Spark, which is a really good thing, honestly. I think the power level of Planeswalkers right now in Standard is perfect. They're kind of niche. They're okay. You play them sometimes. You're not playing 4 in any deck. They're just fine. The passive here is okay, but again, I'm not sure if you're really playing an elf deck in Standard. Are there enough payoffs for elves? And then what are you adding mana for anyway? What do you need all this black mana for? I'm not really sure. So the plus ability isn't really great. Making a 1/1 isn't really. It's just a very middling card. Isn't super exciting. Isn't really a great payoff. Isn't really a great enabler. It just okay. Not super exciting. It is what it is. Just a card. It's fine. Just a card. He keeps saying it. It's a set review. Of course I keep saying it. It's all right. It's not great. Probably won't see much play. And our last card in green is one of the more exciting cards in... they made fun of me for not pronouncing this one right. Vorinclex. Vorinclex. Did I say it right? Vorinclex. Good enough. Good enough! Good enough has been called in chat. Vorinclex. Whatever. 6 mana for a 6/6 trample haste, which just honestly isn't bad by itself. If you would put 1 or more counters on a permanent or player, put twice that many of each of those kind of counters on that permanent or player instead. Okay, so it's like a hardened scales that costs 6. And obviously, it's also a doubling season with planeswalkers and stuff, so you can ultimate planeswalkers and so on and so forth. Sure, but like, that means you're playing a planeswalker after resolving your 6-drop and untapping with it, so sure. And then, if an opponent would put 1 or more counters on a permanent or player, they put half that many counters rounded down. So, locks out sagas, locks out a bunch of plus-1 counter stuff. Definitely the more important facet for constructed play, I think, is this is kind of a hate card for sagas and things like that, counters and so on and so forth. Probably not a player in constructed, honestly. The rate isn't bad, and if you're looking to turn off sagas and things if you have like a specific reason to use it, that's a thing. Well, I guess against sagas, how does that work? So, if a saga stays on a chapter, does it repeat that chapter? Or does it just not do anything? Judge. Only on uptick, correct. So it just turns it off. So it hard counters sagas, and there are a lot of sagas in the set, as you're going to see. Kind of cool. It's an okay card. I could see it having a little bit of play in standard for that reason, mostly specifically. I don't think trying to use this card as a hardened scales is going to be very effective. You can't have your enabler cost 6, but you can have your hate card cost 6 and still be a reasonable thing. So a 6/6 trample for 6 is definitely reasonable. This card could see some play in standard, just a little bit. And then commander stuff, I don't really know. It's not really my thing, so I don't know. But it's an interesting card. And of course, Phyrexians are back, which is like the big lore thing, so that's kind of crazy. So that's it. That's green. YouTube folks, like, comment, subscribe, hit those buttons. Engagement's very important for me, of course. And YouTube folks, remember, you can join the channel. $5 a month. Get all the perks you get from being a sub on Twitch. Look for the join button for the information on that. YouTube folks, I love you. Multicolors, come up next.